let's begin with a sports betting story that I have a feeling is going to take hold of all of college basketball, given the fact that this story was reported yesterday. Federal authorities are currently investigating a player in college basketball for alleged point shaving. We haven't heard this in 20, 30 years. In fact, I remember when I was in college the last time this came up, but this is legit in terms of the reporting. If indeed this comes to pass, Temple men's basketball player Hysier Miller, this is the key name to keep an eye on in the future, bet on his own games and manipulated the outcome of games when he was playing for the Temple Owls, according to sources with direct knowledge of the situation in this reporting from Pete Thamel. Miller, who is Temple's leading scorer last season, transferred to Virginia Tech during the offseason, but he was dismissed last month by the Hokies because of this investigation and inquiry into Temple's games. A regular season Temple game drew attention for unusual betting activity last March. So let's keep an eye on this story. Naturally, these are not the ones that we want to hear with sports betting in all of college or pro sports, but this will be the first big one in college basketball, at the very least, for this year. All right, last night, it was a fun game to watch. I understand it wasn't the best offense and the players were struggling and the weather definitely affected things, but my gosh, it was a snow game on Amazon Prime where the Cleveland Browns end up beating the Pittsburgh Steelers despite almost giving the game away late, 24-19 the final. So the Browns win as an outright dog of 3.5, and the game did indeed go over the total yesterday. Jameis Winston ended up rushing for a touchdown. That was the key moment in the game. So they end up picking up the win, and also a couple of touchdowns from Nick Chubb was the key to this one as well. If the weather was better, maybe the Steelers would have had better fate, but you can't look back. You can only look forward. Jameis Winston, quarterback of the Cleveland Browns after the game, asking fans to drive home safely.
How fun was that?
It was beautiful. It was beautiful for these fans, man. I appreciate everybody that came out here in these conditions, and I just pray that everyone gets home safely. All right, please celebrate. All right, but please get home safely.
James, on your touchdown, how close were they to getting you? And what did you see when you got away there?
I saw the end zone. I felt great protection, and I just was moving forward, and we found a way to get in there.
James, what's the mindset after the couple of turnovers in the fourth quarter? They take the lead. You guys obviously need to score. Like, what's going through your head at that time?
Well, every time I come up here, I say one play at a time. One play at a time, and that is so important, and we exemplified that it's one play at a time. We stick together, we fight for each other, and we found a way.
Yeah, Winston may have earned a backup job again in the NFL next season, maybe even a starting job. Who knows which direction the Browns are going to go. All right, also the flip side of that was certainly the play of the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Russell Wilson, not his best game, probably a quarterback of the Steelers, so much so that Mike Tomlin went to Justin Fields a couple of different times during that game. Let's hear from Russell Wilson after the game talking about his performance, and also George Pickens, wide receiver of the Steelers, apparently not all that impressed with the Browns.
I think that we all, as a team, we're trying to make plays, we're trying to do different things. Obviously, we have trust in Justin, too, and what he can do and what he's capable of, and everybody. Listen, I always want to be in there. That's just the competitor in me. But at the same time, I think that, like I said, we have great trust in Justin and our team and our coaches and everything we were doing. So we should have won that game. We felt like we battled. We fought our butts off, and it was a tough environment. Obviously, we wanted to win this one, but unfortunately, we came up short.
You guys try to take away from this loss? What's the message, in the locker room?
Just keep grinding. Like I said, conditions played a huge part in today's game. I don't really think the Cleveland Browns are a good team at all. I think the conditions kind of saved them today.
Well, those two teams are going to play against each other again in a couple of weeks. We'll see how the Browns respond to that. All right, let's get to college basketball last night. One of the most exciting games we've seen thus far in the first few weeks of the college basketball season, a game between St. John's and Baylor. In case you missed it, Jeremy Roach is the hero for the Bears. He hit a game-winning three-pointer with no time left to end up beating St. John's in double overtime. St. John's was up by 2 with under 5 seconds left, but missed a couple of free throws. Scott Drew used a football reference as to how they ended up winning that game in the end.
Yeah, we came up with the blitz package when we saw that football lineup. So, no, it's a great way to get the ball in bounds. And our guys executed what we wanted done. And we wanted to get a trap, wanted to get a steal, didn't get it, but obviously got the foul. And then the big thing was getting a shot up. And, I mean, Jeremy's a winner. We got a culture of joy, Jesus, others, yourself. And as he stated up here, players trust him. We trust him. Make or miss. Proud that we battled back to have that chance. Because when it was 6 or 4 or 6, whatever it was in that double OT, I mean, we could have gone away at that point. And VJ hit a huge 3. And then from there, executed well.
The future of the Tampa Bay Rays in St. Petersburg already in doubt. Can't play there next year because of the damage that was done by the hurricane. Will they get a new stadium built? That seems to be in doubt as well. Yesterday, the city council approved $23 million to repair the Tropicana roof, but then the president of the Rays said that the deal for a future stadium is dead and no longer makes economic sense for the team. And they also said that they didn't know if repairs for the Trop made sense either, considering they're trying to build a new stadium. Then all of a sudden, they did a reversal on the money, saying they're no longer taking the loans to repair the Trop at this point. The future of the Rays in the area in serious doubt. Old stadium, new stadium, all in doubt going into next year. No doubt who the MVPs were in the American League and National League. It was Shohei Ohtani in the NL. Aaron Judge got the winner award in the AL. Unanimous for Shohei Ohtani. So congratulations to him. And Aaron Judge wins his second MVP. No surprise there in the AL and NL as award season comes to an end. The National Football League is alerting players to be on the lookout for burglars. A lot of burglaries going on lately, especially in Kansas City to, of course, Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce. Brock Purdy, we're going to have to keep an eye on him this week against Green Bay. He's missed some practice time this week. He did practice yesterday late, limited, but he has a sore shoulder. We'll keep an eye on him going into Sunday. And also, Jair Alexander could miss more time with a torn PCL. Probably not going to play against the 49ers on Sunday. Boston Celtics sales seems to be moving forward. Lots of interest in selling the team. We've been hearing about this approximately for a year. Hasn't got done yet. Paul George going to miss 2 games with a bone bruise. Sixers have just 2 wins on the season. Cade Cunningham exited a loss yesterday. The Pistons lost 123 to 121. He has a hip injury. His status in doubt for the weekend. And also, Franz Wagner hit a game-winning 3-pointer with 2.5 seconds left as the Magic beat the Lakers 119 to 118. Recruiting season, of course, going underway in college football. We have a couple of flips to tell you about from yesterday. Number 1 recruit, Bryce Underwood, is now going to Michigan. He was supposed to go to LSU, 6'4", 210-pound passer. 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis is going to play for Coach Prime in Colorado. Aaron Philo goes for an 18-yard touchdown, 22 seconds left. Very exciting college football game last night. Georgia Tech defeats NC State 30-29. Purdue 13.5-point underdogs to Michigan State tonight. That's one of several college football games before we get to some of the big ones tomorrow. All right, welcome back to Newswire. We got Sam McQuillan from Legal Sports Report in the house. If you want to learn more about all of the topics we discussed, go to LegalSportsReport.com and you can check all the info out there. Let's bring in Sam. And hey, Sam, we had this huge betting scandal in the NBA with this player Jonte Porter, surrounding some of his betting props. I hate to see this, though, in college sports, specifically college basketball, with allegedly a player shaving points on a major university. I thought we were going to get through the end of the year without one of these, but here we are.
Yeah, just a couple of weeks into the college basketball season already with the first major scandal you've seen really in college sports in terms of sports betting. You have the former Temple basketball player Hysier Miller allegedly under federal investigation for an alleged point shaving scandal that took place last year. ESPN broke this story yesterday that the feds are apparently investigating whether Miller bet on his own games and manipulated the outcome of multiple games he participated in. Miller was the leading scorer on Temple last year, but he transferred to Virginia Tech in the offseason and was actually suspended before the season even started, hadn't played a game for the Hokies because of this investigation. They said it was something that happened before he was at our university. It actually leaves Virginia Tech pretty thin at point guard, as the college basketball season really hits its full stride. This was, according to the ESPN story, this was first kind of alerted this company called US Integrity, which is this firm that exists exactly for this reason, to monitor suspicious betting activity, works with the sports books. They were alerted by several sports books last year. There was a game against UAB in which the line moved from Temple -2 to Temple -8 in like just a few hours before tip-off, which is really kind of suspicious. Usually a line doesn't move by that much in college basketball unless there's huge injury news or a huge suspension that comes down. That didn't happen with that game. So a lot of sports books stopped taking money on the game altogether. UAB won big 100-72, and Miller finished with 8 points on 3 of 9 shooting with 3 turnovers. The next day, Temple released a statement saying it's now reviewing suspicious betting patterns, suspicious betting activity. Temple's president came out yesterday and posted a letter addressing students and faculty, acknowledging the situation, acknowledging pretty much there's something going on that involves a guy who's no longer at the school. And this investigation goes bigger than just the UAB game, according to all the reporting, though. The same bettors who placed these big bets on UAB in that game last year reportedly had been placing bets against Temple all season, mostly the first half spread, mostly the first half total, smaller things than just, a big point spread, things that maybe you can manipulate easier in college basketball. That's why you have the history of point shaving, where, let's win, but let's not try to win by too much, or let's make sure we lose by a certain amount. And to your point, Greg, this is the first major investigation we've had in a couple of months in the sports world. You had Jonte Porter was just banned from the NBA for life for admitting to manipulating games. Last year, or earlier this year, actually, you had Iowa and Iowa State baseball teams involved in sports betting scandals. So this is kind of becoming commonplace in the industry, catching these things. It's no longer the earth-shattering thing we were talking about back when Calvin Ridley was getting suspended. Will this kill gambling altogether? But it's sad to see it pop up, especially in college sports, when you're talking about, essentially kids here. So we'll have to see more of what comes, but definitely not over in terms of the investigation.
Yeah, and I know that Netflix did that documentary on the Arizona State basketball team from 1994. I'm dating myself, but I remember that vividly when that happened and hearing all about that. And you wonder, is this the biggest one since then in college basketball? Because that was absolutely huge at the time. Again, sports betting not legal at that time either. All right, so let's get to the very latest here. DraftKings facing a fine, it would appear. Again, you can read about this over at LegalSportsReport.com. And this is surrounding credit card funding in terms of accounts. So I know that some folks are trying to do this, and I know that this is frowned upon. So what exactly did DraftKings do wrong here?
Yeah, some states allow you to fund your betting accounts with a credit card. Massachusetts doesn't. They're actually the first state to specifically pass a regulation saying we're not going to allow credit card funded bets. But people have found a way around it, especially at DraftKings. There was this hearing this week. It lasted 7 hours, and the commission has really kind of become known for these lengthy hearings. It actually continued an earlier hearing talking about the same issue, but DraftKings came out and said this, we had over 1,000 bets that were funded with credit cards over the past year, about 218 accounts, and $83,000 were placed with credit cards. Essentially, these people found a loophole where they would go out of Massachusetts, go to a state where you can fund your DraftKings account with a credit card, and then drive back to Massachusetts and place the bet there. DK executives came out and said, we misinterpreted the regulations wrong. We didn't necessarily think that because somebody placed it in another state, we had to do something to prevent them from using it in Massachusetts. A lot of these apps have moved to kind of this one shared wallet where if you do something in one state, it interacts with the other state. So that seems to be kind of what happened here. They said that they addressed it internally, kind of closing this loophole. But then, as people always do, especially with the internet, and especially with bettors, they found another way around it where they were then funding DraftKings pool contests with credit cards. It's separate than the sports book. So maybe, some lack of oversight there. But they came out and said, that's on us. We should have given more strict protocols here to kind of prevent everything that happened. Commission, not very happy about that. Some commissioners, really hammering into them. If you have a problem with the regs or you don't know how to interpret things, you need to come to us and ask. So this isn't the last we've heard of the story. You know, the commission could do pretty much whatever they want in these circumstances. They could kick DraftKings out of the state, but I don't think that's under any circumstances going to be what happens here. I'm sure there are some who would like to go further, but probably this is going to result in is some requirements that they do certain oversight on this issue, and then maybe a big fine, sort of a slap on the wrist kind of thing. But you know, the commission has been pretty pretty hardcore, pretty gung-ho in terms of regulating sports betting versus all the other states. So we'll see where they ultimately end up. But at the end of the day, probably not a huge story here.
Okay. Sneaky people going out of the state to fund with credit cards. I mean, you wouldn't think that would happen, but I guess people will try anything to get over. Okay, let's get to the very latest on sports betting handle share. And this is from Q3. Let's take a look here. And Sam, I know you sent this out yesterday on social media. DraftKings and FanDuel still very much at the top. FanDuel a little up, DraftKings a little down. I guess to me it would be super concerning for ESPN Bet, the fact that they're only at 2% market share here. But I guess there's good news in the silver lining that they're up 1.2% in the third quarter. But my gosh, like I would think that they've got to get higher than this in 2025.
Yeah, it all depends how you look at it, how you want to spin it. On the one hand, ESPN Bet only had 2%, which was 5 among all operators. But on the other hand, they doubled it from the previous quarter, which probably comes because they just launched in New York. So they've expanded their market, expanded the people that they're now catering to. Now they're probably going to hope to see the bets follow that along. My big takeaway here was that DraftKings had 40% last quarter, which is pretty, it's usually FanDuel who's leading the way, and it's usually not 40%. Right. It's usually closer to 38, 37, them neck and neck. But they're already kind of losing ground here as we see the NBA season get underway. FanDuel actually talked about this in the last earnings call, that while we might have lost some ground to DraftKings in the first quarter, our NBA product is superior, and we're going to make up for it. And we're already seeing that play out. We've also seen DraftKings talk about the need to, hey, we did so great with the dominance in football. Now we need to see it translate over to the NBA. So I think this could result in some more experiments, some more offerings for people who like to bet the NBA, whether it's DraftKings and FanDuel, as that kind of becomes the latest battleground sport between the two top companies here.
All right, got it. Sam, have a great weekend. Thanks again for coming on. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Thanks, Craig.
All right, Jordan Schultz reporting on social media that Daniel Jones, quarterback of the Giants, not just benched, not just third or fourth string, been released. Jones yesterday did a press conference for the media in New York, thanking them for all the things through the years, teammates, coaches, etc. Maybe that was a precursor. He knew he was getting cut. He did today. Jones is gone from New York.